welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and today I have the January 2023 Paletteful Packs here in front of me. First Paletteful Packs of the year, so let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. Ooh, what a cool sticker! Okay, so we have this super cute black and white sticker. I really like this. It has a really pretty border. This might be a front of the sketchbook sticker. All right, then I see, oh gosh, look, there's so much in here. Oh, there's fluid acrylics. Oh, I love these ones. These are the System 3 fluid acrylics by De La Rowney. So these are the De La Rowney System 3 fluid acrylics. These are super pigmented fluid acrylics. They're really high quality. I've worked with these before. They're a really high flow acrylic, and because they have such high pigmentation, you can water them down to make them even more liquidy if you want to. You can use them for a bunch of different techniques like pouring. You can use them for glazing. You can use them for like regular painting. They're really versatile in terms of a supply. So I'm really excited to have these and to be able to show you all how I work with them. The next thing I see in here is this angular shader from Princeton. I love angular shaders because they allow you to get really fine detailed lines, but also really quickly lay down flat, big areas of color. So they're a really versatile paintbrush. This is 3/8 inches wide, and it's by Princeton Select, which is a great mixed media brush company. We also have two more brushes in here. So these are both by Robert Simmons. We're gonna have an 8/0, which is a really nice, tiny, fine brush for all of those little details, and that's gonna be a white sable brush. And then we also have a round size 5 brush right here, which is gonna be better for blending and for areas of shading. So with those 3 brushes, we should be able to create basically anything. Then we have a spray bottle. Love a good spray bottle. They're super helpful. We'll be able to create some really cool liquidy effects with that. And then we have the surfaces down here. So it looks like we have a stretched canvas and a canvas panel. The canvas panel is going to be by Art Alternatives. The stretched canvas is 8x10 and it's by De La Rowney. These are both already primed, so these are good to go and ready to paint on. All right, so this is everything that you're going to get in the first Paletteful pack of 2023. We have 3 different types of brushes, 2 different types of canvases, the 6 set of the System 3 fluid acrylics, and a spray bottle. So we basically have an entire acrylic set here. We have everything that you could need. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start painting. I have a bunch of ideas and I can't wait to get started. So I decided that I wanted to do a pour for the background of this piece. So I decided to start by taking these push pins. This is actually a trick that I learned from TikTok, and putting them in the back of the canvas. That way the canvas stays a little bit raised above the tray that I'm using and it won't stick to the bottom of it. Then I took out my System 3 acrylics. I like to start with a background of an entire color. It's a lot easier to pour into a color than to try to pour onto a dry canvas. So I recommend covering your entire canvas with a base color. For me, I decided to use black because I wanted this to be kind of a space vibed image. I was going to put clouds at the bottom and then do a bunch of like stars and things like that in the top. So I wanted to create this galaxy, almost Aurora Borealis style piece. So I started with all of this black. I put a bunch on and then it covered the whole canvas with it. Then I sprayed it with some water to try to even out the brush strokes a little bit and just went around with my large brush to try to even out those brush strokes just a little bit to create a flat area. And then once I had it like kind of even, it's not perfect, but it'll organize itself. I started pouring in the other colors of paint. So I put in some blue green, and then some white for a little extra haze. And then I added in some more black just around the whole thing. Then I took my spray bottle and sprayed everything to get it nice and wet. And I actually used my brush to kind of move around some of the paint within the paint. And as you can see, it's creating some really cool effects already because of how liquidy everything is. We're essentially using a wet on wet technique with acrylic paint because they are so fluid, so it works really well. Once I had everything to my satisfaction, added in a little bit more black paint, I went ahead and tilted it a little bit to create some drips. And you can see how well this drips and pours now that it's in some paint and has been sprayed with some water. I definitely recommend doing that if you want to get the best from your pour. Once I had done that, I wanted to create some different shapes in my pour, so I went ahead and used my breath and blew on it to create some kind of different shapes and blending, and let it dry overnight. And overnight, it's going to do some different things. It'll blend and pour in different ways. So you can see mine kind of ended up kind of vertical, and I thought that it looked kind of like northern lights. So I sprinkled some stars on top of it and then started adding my clouds in the bottom. Because these have a really fine nib, you can kind of draw with them. So I just drew out the cloud shapes with some white paint and then added in some blue down at the bottom. Then I took my paintbrush with some water and started blending them out, blending the white into that blue to create the base formations for my cloud shapes. As y'all know, I like to work from big to small, so I start with a really, really loose kind of cloud detail, like without getting in too much detail. I just kind of start establishing where the shapes are and where things are going to be and the overall shading, but I'm not worried too much about blending, making things perfect, having my brush strokes like not be seen. I'm still being really, really loose with it while establishing that overall shape, because I know I'm going to actually do another pour on top of this, and so I don't want to spend a bunch of time on detail that may be covered up later. I just want to establish where the shapes of these clouds are going to be for the rest of the layers of the painting. So that's kind of what I did, just moving around that paint, and you can see how opaque and how pigmented it really is. Then I decided to do my second pour because I wanted this pour to be transparent and for you to be able to see the others below it. I just sprayed the canvas with water first and then poured on my paint, and then using a lot of water on my brush and some like dripping techniques, I created this second layer. If you want to do a second layer like this, you need to make sure it's thin, so use your water bottle copiously. You can always add more paint, but once it's dry, you can't take it away. So I added in my second layer, and I was pretty happy with how translucent it was and how it tinted the clouds with some green and some more like blue kind of spotted areas. Thought it looked really interesting, and now it was time for me to start building up the actual structure of the clouds. So I went in with some of the white paint, mixing it with some of the blue ultramarine, and started just building up those shapes and establishing where more of the details are going to be in the clouds and all of the different little puffy cloudy areas that are going to exist that we want to make sure that we get so they look like clouds. And just kind of going back and forth with the dark color and the light color. And when I want to blend, I'll just kind of mix them together to create a midtone and just lightly dab that along the edges of where the two colors meet. Just make sure to control the amount of paint on your brush. If you are blending, it's better to have a little bit of paint on your brush versus a lot of paint on your brush, so you can kind of smudge things out and create a nice smooth line. As you can probably tell, this was definitely the most time-consuming part of the painting because it had the most details. The pour in the background is really starting to look like an aurora borealis, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. I feel like it looks like this little like aurora borealis peeking out from behind the clouds that are like low hung, and I just think it looks really cute. I did more work on the clouds. It took a really, really long time. And once I was done with the clouds, I went and used some white paint and added in a bunch of stars. But I forgot to record that, so I'm really, really sorry. I added another little splatter layer of stars, and then I used some glazing techniques. So I watered down my paint and used that watered down dark paint to add in more depth to the clouds and push some clouds further into the background, just so that they looked a little bit more three-dimensional. Then I went in with some white paint and added in even more little stars. I just made little X's for the small stars, and then for some of the larger stars, I used the same shape as I used on the largest stars that you can see, but just made them a little bit smaller, just these kind of little like curved diamond shapes. And so by adding in a variety of different stars, it just kind of adds different textures and interest in a sky that otherwise could be a little bit boring. So that's kind of what I did here, adding in all of these little stars just to finish everything off. And once I added in the stars, I was pretty much done with the piece. So I used the really, really fine white brush that I was using to sign it. And that is it. I finished my piece. I hope you liked this video and found it helpful, and I hope it gave you some good ideas as to what to do with your own fluid acrylics. I'm really excited to see what everyone came up with this month, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a great day!